One thing I think we'd all like to be able to do is to draw people really well in our sketchbooks. How do you do that? How do you get really good at it? Well, today I want to introduce you to a person who did just that. She taught herself by sheer will to make amazing portraits, basically from scratch. And she has been a member of Sketchbook Skool's community for a while and is now teaching for us as well. Today, we're going to check out the work of Helen Leigh-Phippard, and we're going to learn a bit about how she got there. Right. Hi, Helen.
Hi, Danny. It's good to see you.
It's nice to see you too. So I'm excited to talk to you about drawing people. Drawing people is something that you've really been focused on over the last couple of years or longer. Tell me a bit about your discovery of this passion for drawing people. How did it come about?
Oh, I was really scared of drawing people, terrified of doing them and avoided them. So I was a student in Sketchbook Skool almost from the beginning and avoided drawing people at all costs. And then I did a course, one of the Sketchbook Skool courses, and Vin Ganapathy was teaching us to draw people. And I loved his way of teaching. And he introduced us to Sketchy, which is an app where there are, I don't know, thousands and thousands of photos of people. People put up their selfies and you can draw them. And I started drawing people. I decided to do, I think it was a 99-day project, drawing faces. And when I got to the end of 99, I'd made so much progress that I carried on. I think I did a face every day for about 3 years without stopping. That was about 6 years ago now. And I've done about 1,700 faces now. So I definitely have a passion for drawing people now, it's fair to say.
That's fantastic. It's like a small town full of portraits.
Yeah.
Well, I think your portraits are are fantastic and compelling. What are the challenges that you faced as you were doing it? Was it a matter of just repeating the same sort of effort each time, or were there different ways in which you challenge yourself as you went through?
First, it was just about trying to draw a face that looked like a face. Once I'd mastered trying to get something to look like a face, then it was trying to get a likeness. And then it was trying to get something that looked three-dimensional. And then initially I started just using Copic markers, which I'd never used before. So that was my first medium. And then I moved on to other mediums. So I do all different kinds of mediums now. Mainly I use Copic markers, watercolor, and ballpoint pen. But as things carried on, I just started experimenting. I think the important thing is that I've never stopped experimenting. So I'm always trying to find something new and fresh to do. But drawing people is always interesting because everybody's different. There's always something new to do, and I really like drawing expressions. So I'm always looking for different, unusual, inspiring faces. I'm always looking for something new and different to draw. I try and cover all kinds of diverse people. And that's not hard to find because everybody's different. It's not difficult. You can never run out of different and unusual faces to draw.
Drawing faces is really what we all want to be able to do. I think it's a skill that we would all like to have, right? So even if you draw other things, I think that's where that's the hallmark. But what about the things that you've learned in drawing faces? Are those things that you've found help you to draw other things that aren't besides human faces?
Yeah, absolutely. Once I had learned how to get a likeness, the thing I learned then was not to worry about likeness, because that's once you kind of have got it kind of didn't matter anymore. What mattered to me much more was capturing someone's personality and drawing something interesting. If I really wanted to capture someone's likeness, I'd take a photo. So it's much more about the experience of drawing someone. And in a way, I'm much more interested in the drawings that don't go well. It's like, why doesn't that look like them? What was it about what I was doing? And usually it's because I get absorbed in the drawing and I'm more interested in what's happening when I'm doing the drawing and what's happening with my materials. I'm more interested in the process. Yeah, the outcome doesn't matter. And that's something I remember you saying that years ago, many years ago. It's the process that matters, not the end result. And I didn't really believe that until I actually became quite good at drawing something.
Yeah, I think that there's a struggle with likeness that can kind of overwhelm your process, right? So you can say, I'm feeling bad because it doesn't look exactly like the person. But that's also an opportunity to slow down and say, as you say, what is it that makes up this likeness? What is it that makes this person? And if you think about great caricaturists, a lot of times they're certainly not copying every single feature exactly as they're seeing it. They're somehow capturing the essence of what is distinctive about this person. If I get those parts right, the other parts don't matter as much. I don't need to draw, Brad Pitt's ears perfectly for you to know who he is.
That's the difficulty with commissions. I get lots of commissions now. And when I get commissions, people want them to look exactly like them, but better, because they want to look beautiful. And I've learned that the challenge of commissions is you have to make them look just like them, but also make them look pretty. And it's a real challenge, because I like drawing people as they are. And when I first started doing them, I drew them as they are. And I learned that that was a big mistake.
A lot of what you do is working from photography, and we're often working from a single photograph. How does that play into it? And do you feel sometimes encumbered by the decisions that the photographer made for you, in essence? Or is that okay with you?
That's okay with me. I think that because I'm choosing the photograph that I want to draw from, and I'm very selective, so I don't feel at all constrained by the photographer, because it's a choice I'm making. I usually draw someone as they are in a photo, because I draw what I see, and I've chosen the photograph because I like what I see in that photograph for whatever reason. I quite like drawing foreshortening. I quite like drawing pictures where the face is distorted, and I've chosen it for that reason. So I like to choose my own photograph, because the face is quite often not, it's distorted for some reason, so it doesn't fit that, the model that you quite often see of the face, where it's perfectly proportioned and the eyes are right in the middle.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I choose it because it's very different usually. And people will afterwards, they'll comment on it and say, if I post it on Sketchy, they'll comment and say, oh, you chose a really difficult angle. And I'm like, did I? Didn't occur to me that it was a difficult angle, an awkward expression. It was just interesting.
I think people who don't know how to draw assume that kind of thing is difficult. But when you talk about distorting photographs purposefully, it's inevitable if you are making art about something else and you're showing what you see. It's not going to be what the photo is. It's going to be your version of it. It's going to go through you. I can be flipping through Facebook or Instagram and see one of your drawings and instantly know that you did it. So even though it looks a lot like the photograph, I know what your approach is. I know what colors you use. I know what things you emphasize. I know the way you make shadows, and not in a conscious way, but like that's your signature. I recognize your
Yeah.
style. I recognize your approach. So you are distorting it, or you are putting it through the Helen filter. But I think we all do that. That's
Yeah.
ultimately the point of the whole exercise, not to copy the photograph, but to make your own version of what you see.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody who looks at what you do and says, how do I do that? How would you say, here's how to draw a portrait?
I would say practice. Start at the beginning. Don't be put off. And I've quite deliberately been looking at some of my really early photos, so that when I'm teaching my class in Sketchbook Skool, I'm going to show people some of my really early drawings, so that I can say, look, this is what I was doing. They're really flat. They're really bad. They don't have any of the right proportions. This is what I was doing 6 years ago. It's not that, I was born with some great talent for drawing people. I wasn't. I just stuck at it. I've been looking through my sketchbooks, and what I can see, particularly in the first 3 years, is really dramatic progress month by month, just by doing something every day. Once you reach a certain point, it kind of levels off. And then, if I look sort of, I suppose every 6 months, then you can see that I'm still progressing. But it's more with experimenting with different materials and changing what I'm doing a little bit. But in those first 3 years, the progress is dramatic, and anyone can go to Sketchy, where I posted my pictures every day, or Instagram, and look, it takes a long time to go back 1,700 portraits, but you can.
Right.
You can go back and you can see that day by day. It's on there, it's public. If you start doing it month by month, you'll see that progress, because it's quite visible. You just get better at measuring where the different facial features are. You get better at placing them. When I did that 100-day project, by about my 80th portrait, I knew where the features were. So it took about 80. And then I kind of knew where they were. It took probably about 300 before I could do a reasonable portrait, I think.
When you think about practice, it's the word practice, that in of itself can be a turn off if you think about it as practice. But I imagine that you thought about it as doing a drawing. I'm going to do this
Oh, yeah,
drawing.
it
I'm
was
going to do
fun.
another drawing, and that you sustained your interest in it because of that. I want to have fun doing every single drawing that I'm doing.
It was fun, and every single drawing I've done, all 1,700 of them, I've learned something from. And I still make really bad ones, but I still post them. I do that quite deliberately. It doesn't matter how bad, I'll put it on there, because we all do it, and it's the bad ones we learn the most from. When I'd only been doing it for 2 years, I did a really good one that I'd be quite happy to put out amongst the ones now and say I did it now. They're like, wow, how did I do that? In amongst all the ones that kind of are very average, you'll suddenly do a great one. And that's the one that makes you think, oh, wow, I'm really getting somewhere here.
Yeah.
When it gets really hard, I'll suddenly have 2 or 3 weeks where it feels like every drawing is a struggle. Everything is really, really difficult. But I've learned that when it feels like that, I'm going to have a breakthrough. I'm at a point where I'm about to go up a peg.
Yeah.
So I say to everyone, don't worry when that happens. That's usually a good sign, not a bad sign.
What role does sketchbooks play in your creative development? Because you do most of your work in sketchbooks, I assume. And why a sketchbook? What is that doing for you?
So I have different sketchbooks for different mediums, and I try and circulate between the different mediums that I use, so that I'm using a different sketchbook each day. So I'm kind of using 1, 2, 3, 4 sketchbooks, and it's about trying to keep my skills up. But if I'm not doing a commission, I'm working in a sketchbook. And that's just the way I've always worked, really, because that's how Sketchbook Skool taught me to work. But also because sketchbooks are a beautiful thing. They're a beautiful thing to have and to hold and to own and to show people. And for me, they're also a record of how I'm progressing. Yeah, and over the last few days, I've been looking through them and just seeing how I'm progressing. They're also a lovely kind of record of your life, making me feel tearful even talking about it. But that they're memories of your life, aren't they? They're all, and they're just wonderful. Um, so, and I pulled out one quite an early, Sketchbook Skool one, where, yeah, it's just a lovely memory of Sketchbook Skool as well, um, of a a course and things we were doing in the course, and yeah, they're just they're memories, but they're also a record of progress and of learning and all kinds of things.
I think a lot of people who are new to drawing and new to portraiture is they want to have a system. So, and there are artists and teachers who say, draw a circle and draw a line through and draw it like an egg and, bisect the egg and do all, there's a whole kind of structural approach to drawing, and I think that people think, okay, this, if I learn these rules, then, I'll be able to make sense out of the difficulty of this whole experience. I don't personally draw that way. What are your thoughts about these kinds of more systematic ways of doing drawings?
Yeah, I don't draw that way. I mean, obviously, I learned to draw through Sketchbook School, so I had lots of different teachers teaching me different things, and I kind of learned to take the things that were helpful and I mean, that's the Sketchbook Skool way, isn't it? You take the things that are helpful to you, you hear the other stuff, but yeah, you take what's useful. I started drawing faces, and then when I started doing that, I've kind of dipped in and out of lots of portrait classes. And as I've done that, I've come across lots and lots of methods of drawing faces. And I found with that lots of them I found really unhelpful because I started to draw faces in a particular way. So I've tried them and then just let them go because they mess with my own way of drawing, basically. So in Sketchbook Skool, I started with, I suppose the first person was Lepan, who taught me to start with the eyes, and that has stuck. So I always start drawing with the eyes. And then Vin taught me other ways of drawing which have stuck. But beyond that, I've kind of developed my own way of doing it. People will see when I when I do my first class, because I'm going to show people how to do a simple line drawing of a face. And I do kind of sketch it out, but then I just almost ditch it because it just doesn't work.
You're about to start teaching a class called Drawing Faces. What can people expect from taking this class with you?
I hope that what they'll get from it is a love of drawing people. I love it as much as I do. What I do is draw faces with colour. So I am going to start off with teaching people just to do a very simple line drawing. But the line drawings that I do are really just a scaffold for what follows, because mostly what I do is draw a face with colour. And what I love to do is use colour, layers and layers and layers of colour. And that's what I do with Copic markers, with watercolour, with ballpoint. I'm going to teach people to draw with all of those, but with layers and layers of them. So initially we're going to start off with Copic markers, but I know not everybody likes markers, so I will do some watercolour as well. And then if there's enthusiasm for it, I'll do ballpoint pens as well. But my system is very similar, whatever I'm using. It's all layers and layers and layers of colour.
Right. I think that your approach it's painterly in a way, right? I mean, it's not about lines so much as you say. It's about areas and tone and shadow and all those kinds of things. So I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm looking forward so much to seeing all these new portraits popping up. Everybody would love to be able to draw as well as you do. They may have to spend years and years doing it, but that's the fun of it, is we get to do that, and hopefully they'll each be working on 1,700 portraits, and
that would be good.
We'll get somewhere great.
A whole new group of portrait artists.
Yeah, and look, I think a lot of people have been following you on Instagram, on Sketchy. They've seen what you've been doing. They're eager to know what it's going to be like, what the process is going to be like, and you know you're great at drawing. I'm sure you'll be great at teaching, and it'll be fun for everybody. So let's get to it.
Let's.
Thank you so much, Helen.
Thank you.
Hey, if you'd like to learn a bit more from Helen, why not join Spark, the Spark membership program at Sketchbook Skool. Helen teaches for us, as do many other fantastic artists, and you can learn from her, and you can also develop a really incredible creative habit. Hundreds and hundreds of people have. They're taking our classes every day, and why not try a free trial and see if you'd like to join them. Just go to sketchbookskool.com, and hopefully I'll see you with Helen making art together.